If you're trying to decide what OP16 leader to build, you're in the right place. Because after testing every leader from the set, I've put together a full OP16 tier list, including one placement that I think is going to surprise a lot of people. Before we start, OP16 is still a relatively new format, people are experimenting, and some of these leaders could end up being much stronger or much weaker than they currently look. So don't be surprised if in a few months from now, rankings have shuffled around a little bit. For this list, I'm going to be looking at a couple of things. How strong the leader is right now, how consistent the decks feel, how much support the leader has access to, and how likely they are to actually win games in your typical match. With that out of the way, let's get started. Starting us off in the bottom tier, we have Buggy. Now I don't think Buggy is completely unplayable, but compared to the rest of the OP16 leaders, I struggle to see what makes him stand out. The biggest issue is that his leader ability doesn't immediately impact the board in a meaningful way. When you compare him to leaders that are generating pressure, drawing cards, manipulating Don, or actively disrupting the opponent, Buggy can feel a little underwhelming. This isn't to say there's no potential here. Impel Down support gives the deck some interesting options, and the deck also has the advantage of being relatively unexplored, meaning somebody could absolutely discover a stronger build later on. But right now, if I'm building a deck, OP16 Buggy just isn't near the top of my list. Going into the mid tier, we have Luffy. Now getting 2 extra Don sounds great on paper. The problem is, Don acceleration isn't exactly rare anymore. We've seen plenty of powerful purple leaders over the years. Leaders like ST10 Luffy and OP5 Luffy have shown just how strong Don manipulation can be when it's attached to an already powerful game plan. The issue here is OP16 Luffy feels lackluster. You're getting additional resources, which is always useful, but it doesn't feel like you're doing anything crazy. You're simply accelerating your game plan, while some of the top leaders in the format are completely changing how the game is played. That said, I think Luffy is incredibly consistent, easy to learn, and will probably age quite well as new support arrives. Quick reminder before we get any further into the video, I checked my analytics and apparently 99% of you aren't subscribed. So if you're enjoying the content and want to help the channel grow, consider subscribing. Anyway, let's carry on. This next one hurts a little bit because I love Ace as a character. Unfortunately, I just don't think this leader is all that impressive. The biggest problem is that OP16 Ace exists in a world where OP13 Ace has been meta for years. And every time I look at this leader, I can't help comparing them. OP13 Ace gives you incredible card draw, consistent pressure, and some absolutely disgusting late game turns. OP16 Ace feels like it's trying to achieve something similar, but doesn't quite get there. This effect isn't terrible. There are definitely situations where it can provide value, and future Whitebeard support could absolutely improve this leader, but as of right now, comparing it to other leaders focused on late game plays, I think this one just falls a little flat. At least the artwork is absolutely fantastic. Moving into the good tier, we have Sengoku. This is probably the leader on the list that I'm most interested in experimenting with. The reason I like Sengoku is because he feels unsolved. A lot of leaders feel fairly straightforward. You look at them and immediately understand the deck you're supposed to build. Sengoku doesn't quite feel like that. The Marine package already gives him access to some solid tools, strong searches, and decent board control options. But I also feel like there are probably builds that nobody has fully explored yet. The deck rewards creativity and careful deck building, which is something I always enjoy. I don't think Sengoku is quite at the level of top leaders right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if 6 months from now, somebody has completely cracked the code and pushed this leader much higher up in the rankings. I don't think anyone will be surprised at this next one. Teach has already established himself as one of the defining leaders of the format. What makes him so powerful isn't just his own game plan, it's the fact that he actively interferes with your opponent's game plan. Many decks in One Piece rely on activated effects, carefully planned sequences, and powerful interactions between cards. Teach can disrupt all of that and force opponents into playing a much more restricted version of the game. On top of that, the deck is incredibly consistent. You don't need to draw a perfect sequence of cards. This deck simply does what it's supposed to do, game after game after game. Now I will say Teach isn't necessarily the most exciting leader in the world. Some players love the style of control-orientated gameplay, while others find it a little repetitive. But boring or not, results are results. Right now, Teach is a leader every serious OP16 player has to respect. If you're building for a tournament or just a casual game, this is the deck you have to plan for right now. Now we're getting into the hot takes. Most people I've seen have Teach sitting alone at the top of the tier list, and I understand why. But I'm putting Yamato up here too. Not because I think Yamato is currently as strong as Teach, but because I think Yamato has some of the highest potential in the entire set. This leader can apply an absurd amount of pressure. While Teach wins by controlling the game and restricting what your opponent can do, Yamato wins by asking a much simpler question. Can you survive? If the answer is no, the game ends very quickly. Rush strategies have always been dangerous because they punish slow starts so effectively, and Yamato feels capable of doing exactly that. The deck can force opponents onto the back foot almost immediately and turn every small mistake into massive damage swings. I also think we're still very early in the development of this leader. The deck feels like it has a lot of room to grow and be refined. In my opinion, Teach is the strongest leader today, but Yamato has the most potential. That's why she's sitting up in the top tier. And there we have it, my full OP16 tier list. Now, I know some of these placements are going to be controversial, especially Yamato's sitting up in the top tier next to Teach. That's part of what makes this set so exciting. If everybody agreed on every leader, we would have nothing to talk about. At this moment, I think Teach is still the leader to beat. He's consistent, he's proven himself in the meta, and if you're looking to win games right now, he's probably the safest choice from the set. The placement I'm most interested in is Yamato. Not because I think she's currently the best leader in OP16, but because I think she has the most room to grow. Every new format has one deck that starts off underrated before somebody figures out the optimal build, and suddenly everyone's scrambling to pick it up. Yamato feels like that deck. I had a really hard time placing Sengoku. He feels like he could end up being incredibly strong, but I'm really not sure at this point. I genuinely think there's still a lot to explore there. He could end up being absolutely amazing 6 months down the line, or he could be another leader that nobody really talks about. But honestly, I think people are going to be looking back at tier lists like this and wondering why people didn't take him seriously sooner. I'd like to do a video on him in the near future, so let me know if you'd like to see that. The rest of the leaders all have their strengths and weaknesses, but right now I think they either need more support, more refinement, or simply a stronger place in the meta before they can compete with the very top decks. Let me know down in the comments where you agree, where you disagree, and what leader you think I've completely underrated. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.